Hey there, my name is LaNesha Tab and welcome back to my channel. Today's question is, help, how do I get my students to improve their illustrations so that it can make them better writers? I've got you. What we're gonna do is a rapid fire glance at 20 different lessons so that you can teach your students in an illustration unit. Why is this important? Because especially in kindergarten, even first grade, so many times students are asked to share their thinking through illustrations. Illustrations equate to meaning. Illustrations are not simply just a little doodle or a cute little drawing. No, illustrations, again, we equate that with meaning. So there has to be meaning attached to it. So if we're telling a story or if we're giving information, those pictures are not just there to decorate, those pictures have a job. So it would be a good idea for us to teach students a couple of strategies to get those illustrations the very best they can be. So stay tuned. We're gonna go through a rapid fire fast and I'm simply going to say what the strategy is and maybe a quick little blip about how it can help your writers. We are actually gonna break this video up into a couple of parts here. So welcome to part 1. All right, strategy number 1, introduce your students to Albert. Depending on the grade level, Albert here is this potato person that's usually the first representation of a person that a lot of young students will draw. If you are teaching more middle kindergarten heading to first grade, it might be a good idea to teach them how to draw a person. So my favorite way to do that is Art for Kids Hub. There's a really great tutorial there called How to Draw a Person. And that's something that I would have my students practice all the time. And then slowly they started to grow their ability to make people. And so Albert, we had to say goodbye as much as we love Albert. And if you don't know who Albert is, it's basically this little character. I turned him into a book that really teaches students how to draw detailed settings with something called a magic line, which we'll get into in just a second. But for now, that would be the first lesson that I would want to teach children. How do we actually draw people? From there, we're going to go into hair variations. Teach your students that if you're telling a story or if you're responding to something and you want to talk about a specific person, people don't all have the same kinds of hair. So you can pay attention to the different kinds of hair that people have and make that representation in your illustration. This unit actually has clickable links to some of those tutorials that will give them some really great tips for how to change up some hairstyles. Lesson 2, detailed clothing. Again, same idea. Everybody shouldn't be wearing the same thing. I shouldn't have people who are purple from head to toe, right? We want to make sure we're paying attention to the details of the people that we are trying to draw, and detailed clothing is a great way to get that done. Showing motion in our drawing. That can be as easy as drawing some little action lines in there. Of course, Mo Willems is going to be the king of that. So pulling out those pigeon books, those elephant and piggy books, that's going to be a great way to help teach this lesson. What is a setting? Now, this is where I said the magic line was going to come in. So the first thing I do is teach them the concept of a setting. If they don't already know what that is, of course, you'll cover that in reading, but that's when they have to identify a setting. In writing, they actually have to create a setting, and that's a much more complex task cognitively. So one lesson is simply going to be, what is a setting? Once they know what a setting is, you're going to teach them how to use something called the magic line to create these beautiful detailed settings. So basically, the magic line is the plot line of the book Albert. It's this little character, and he's going along, and he says that he loves snowstorms, which is really a blank sheet of paper, and he's like, oh, there's snow everywhere and I love it. One day a line appears on the paper, and every time the page turns, a little more details arrive on the page. If you want to see the book Albert here on YouTube, I'll put a little card here and I'll put a link in the description where you can go watch the video, and you can share that video with your students, or if you want to grab the book, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So once they have that concept of the magic line, you can let them practice creating different settings using the magic line. So you can see here, sometimes the settings can have a curve to them. Sometimes it can be wavy and it might look like water. Sometimes it's just going to be straight and we're just going to be drawing a room or a classroom or whatever it is that the kids want to draw. Sometimes it'll be diagonal. The sky is the limit. That one line literally shifts everything for your students, and they will start to create the best illustration.